A little sore.
I don't even want to hear why that is. This doesn't sound right, does it, Austin?
No, that's all right, though.
Yeah, somebody, how they doing? Feeling a little sore after he told us last night it was just him and his boys hanging out. Okay? That right there tells you I don't want to hear any more about that. No.
All right. Moving on to bigger and better
It is
things.
the Saturday Sports page on a gloomy Saturday. You know what is the worst thing about today? I mean, mind you, I did lose a very good friend of mine yesterday, 2 days ago. Rest in peace, Dino Burt.
You can't go golf.
I can't go golf today.
Boom.
You're wearing a golf shirt. I figured that's exactly
It's gonna
where
be
you'd
raining.
be headed.
He had high
come
hopes.
Bro, I'm not getting that. There's two things I don't do. I don't play golf in the cold. I don't play it in the rain or threat of rain.
Threat of rain.
Because a threat of rain in Ocala means it's guaranteed to rain.
At some point in time.
And I just can't deal with it.
Yesterday was kind of misleading, though. Very misleading.
Yeah, it was supposed to rain. It was gonna rain, and then last night it rained.
Yeah.
Wow, did it rain? I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning to my house shaking violently. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Is there like a train going on outside or something? I looked outside. The oak trees were moving.
Constant downpour.
I was like, wow. Pretty good. Last night, stayed up till about 12:30 watching basketball last night.
How about that game, man? Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky was a great game. The Tennessee game was a great game. Tennessee almost beat Michigan. Then the Michigan State, I didn't get to watch the Michigan State-Virginia game because I was so glued to the Kentucky-Louisville game. Do we have a caller, Austin?
No, that was that wasn't a caller. No.
Oh, it wasn't a caller?
No.
Oh, because I was expecting a... Well,
Where's Umatilla Steve at?
I promise you Steve's out there somewhere. We need to, I think we need to call...
We had a caller, but said caller didn't answer.
Okay.
Didn't say anything.
Well, Buddy Martin's going to join us at 10:15.
That wasn't Buddy Martin.
I know that, to talk college basketball. Some great games last night, Austin.
Yes.
Kentucky wins over Louisville. Notice I didn't say Kentucky beat Louisville. Kentucky won over Louisville.
Right.
Because Kentucky didn't beat Louisville last night.
Well, yeah, they did.
No, they won the game. But they
In
didn't
fact,
beat Louisville.
Beating Louisville.
No, they didn't beat Louisville. They won the game. Louisville beat Louisville.
Oh, yes. Louisville beat Louisville, but Kentucky also beat
Kentucky
Louisville.
won the game. No, Kentucky didn't beat Louisville. They won the game.
Kentucky scored more points than Louisville.
Right, they won the game. They didn't beat Louisville. No. Louisville beat Louisville. Kentucky did not have anything to do with Louisville losing last night.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not.
Kentucky was on the same basketball court and defended Louisville and scored more points than Louisville.
And Kentucky fouled them, knowing they couldn't make a foul shot.
The only reason Kentucky ended up with more points than Louisville is because Louisville couldn't hit a free throw if they jumped from 5 feet right at the basket. It was the most, if Louisville was butt naked at the Antarctic, they couldn't have caught a cold the way they were shooting last night. It was terrible. Russ Smith, the senior leader of Louisville, who had an amazing game, by the way. That slam dunk he had where he just went down the lane and tomahawked the ball through the basket was amazing. What wasn't amazing is that Russ Smith, the senior point guard, couldn't hit a free throw to save his life.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
We have a special caller that wants to give us some insight.
Tom James is on the phone, isn't he?
Umatilla Steve.
Oh, Umatilla
Yes.
Steve. Umatilla, how are you, sir?
Hey, morning, Tom. First, I want to go, sorry about your loss, man.
I appreciate that, Steve.
Prayers are with you, buddy, man. You know, I've had a long last few years, but, the rainy skies. I think we've got more lakes down here now. Yeah, we need the rain. But the Gator boys are going to show up there about 6 o'clock tonight, Tom. How's your bracket looking, Tom? Is it about like mine, one left?
No, I got
important one left, Tom.
I got 3 Final Four teams still left. I lost one last night when Louisville beat themselves and Kentucky had more points than they did. Kentucky, of course.
Yeah, I still got.
I got Arizona, Michigan State, and Florida still in the Final Four.
Oh, Wisconsin and Connecticut, the two that beat the Gators there, Tom, there in Michigan there. Well, that SEC, I know Billy said about, it's hard to compare, but, we still got old Kentucky. Laura, how about them old cats, man. When you thought we had them buried there. I hope we don't have to see them again. I don't think they'll make it out of the next one. Do you, Tom?
I don't think Kentucky beats it's Michigan they play. I don't think they beat Michigan. But I didn't think they were going to beat Louisville. And they didn't beat Louisville. Louisville beat Louisville by not making free throws.
I didn't think they'd get that far. And look at old Lord Rocky Top almost pulled it off there last night, didn't it? That
was one bad call away from Tennessee winning that game.
But I ought to be a little more worried about these Dayton boys. I guess that's where Mick Hubert got his start. But I think we're going to win by about 15 today. I think they're fun. I think Cinderella it's run out there. I look for Patrick. I think he ought to dominate inside on them there, Tom.
Well, Steve, he needs to because he didn't show up in the last game.
No, he didn't there, but we got Frazier, and I tell you, my man Hill down here, with the assist, man, and I tell you, he's as quick as lightning, Tom. I know it'd take you out there to guard him, man. He's quick, man.
Steve, I could guard anybody on the Florida team, and I'll tell you why. Because the first thing I'd do is kick him in the thigh or something and give him a deep thigh bruise, and they wouldn't be able to move past me.
Well, I'm sure you got the stars coming on here. You say, Tom, but we gonna wait, buddy. I'll get a little out of him maybe this morning. He's probably he's not gonna get out today, is he? There, he's such a star,
Well, no, Buddy. It would cost lots of money for us to have Buddy on the show live, Steve, in the studio on a Saturday. Well, we ain't got that kind of money.
I think the Gators by about 15 today over those Dayton there. Yeah. Final Four, Tom. I think it's gonna be fun next weekend, man. Love the show, man. Go Gators.
All right, Steve. Thank you. Umatilla Steve checking in. All you got to do is ask for Umatilla Steve, and he'll hit right there.
Chime right in. Thanks to Umatilla Steve for that.
Josh said, where's Umatilla? Umatilla said, right here, boys. Right here, boys. That's where Umatilla is. Look at there. So,
old reliable.
Let's talk about the Tennessee-Michigan game. Tennessee makes a colossal comeback.
Down 15.
They were down 15, and Michigan was physically just abusing Tennessee. First off, did you think Michigan was going to miss a shot?
No, the way they were shooting, Nick Stauskas was on fire.
In the first half, they couldn't miss. I was like, when Tennessee was only down 15, I was like, oh, dear God, how is this game only 15 points? Because Tennessee, while they shot good, Michigan, did they miss a three-pointer in the first half?
Yeah, it seemed like it. I mean,
they were 10 for 13.
And by the way, did you see the play by Nick Stauskas about midway through the first half where he got stuck and then proceeded to throw the basketball up against the backboard back to himself?
Right.
And then pass it, and then that gave him 3 points. Pass it to a teammate. He shot the three, was fouled, and he got three free throws.
Yes.
I mean, that was one heck of a play by Nick Stauskas.
Michigan was flexing their muscle in the first half. They're smaller than Tennessee, but they shot the lights out of it.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be the other way around, to be honest with you. I thought Tennessee was going to win that game, and I thought they were going to dominate down low.
And then in the second half, Tennessee came out and dominated down low. I mean, dominated. But it was just too much to overcome. When you got a 15-point deficit and 3 idiots in white and black stripes, it's just too much to overcome. And the one call that cost Tennessee the final chance to tie the game up, after they had played so hard, first off, they'd only given up 3 fouls in the second half, so they had 4 fouls to give before they could get the bonus. So every time they had to stop the clock, they had to foul somebody, then the ball taken it out. They stole the ball, scored. They were down, remember, with 1:57 to go in the game, Tennessee was down 8.
Right. I mean, it was one heck of a comeback to just be in the last 10 seconds and be close.
They stole the ball, scored. Michigan, how you say his name?
Stauskas. Nick Stauskas.
He's running the end line, and he threw a terrible pass to his teammate, who then foot slipped over the end line.
That was Spike Albrecht.
Was that Albrecht?
And it was interesting because John Beilein had Spike Albrecht throwing the ball in every single time. And obviously he's a point guard and you're going to trust him with the ball. But this guy's like 5'9", and he's throwing up against guys like Jarnell Stokes and Jordan McRae that are 6'8", 6'9", that are guarding him. Obviously, it worked, but it was just interesting how John Beeline had little Spike Albrecht throwing the ball in.
And so they get the ball back that way, and then an inbounds play. Tennessee, if you look from the in defense of the referee, not defense, but in his, it is in his defense. From his position, it looked like the shoulder was lowered into the chest, and he charged. It looked from where he was standing.
Right.
When you saw the angle from the other side, though, you saw that it was a flop. It wasn't really a shoulder into the chest.
Well,
and the referee's in a bad place there because he doesn't see that. All he sees is a shoulder lowered and then a guy on his back.
And then 9 seconds to go, bang, bang, play. I think you almost have to have a call there. If there's a no call, I think you're going to see more people upset than what they are now. And you have to take into the fact that the ball was stolen from Jarnell Stokes.
Right, I think that I think Stokely got fouled.
No.
On the steal.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
Terrible call. They missed the foul and then called a foul that didn't happen.
Regardless, Jarnell Stokes should have kicked the ball out to Jordan McRae, who was wide open at the top of the key.
Especially being that McRae had just put the team on his back. McRae carried that team through the second half, just making all kind of shots. And just being a man-child, saying, okay, come on, boys, get on, time to go. But Michigan wins the game, Tennessee out, Kentucky now, and Florida, the only two SEC teams. By the way, you only get 3 SEC teams in. They all make the Sweet 16, and one of them's an eyelash away from all 3 of them making the Elite 8. Sounds like a weak conference.
Yeah. Well, like I said this all along, everybody knew Kentucky and Florida were going to get in. We're just looking for that third team. Obviously, Tennessee got hot at the end of the season. But outside Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, this season, there really wasn't any other good competition. But once we get into tournament play, you see that these teams actually can compete with the Big Tens and the Pac-12s and the Big 12s.
Well, they got about 1/16 of the field was SEC, but 1/4
remained
of the Elite 8 are SEC. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And I'm an ACC guy. So
and I think Tennessee and Kentucky both benefited.
How many ACC teams are left?
Oh.
None.
The last one went down last night.
How many Big Ten teams are left?
2.
3.
Big 12.
Kentucky,
0.
Michigan State, and Michigan.
Kentucky's not.
No,
Big Ten.
I said Wisconsin. I'm sorry.
Wisconsin.
I didn't mean Kentucky. Wisconsin, Michigan State, Michigan. How many states still have 2 teams?
Yeah.
What's that say about basketball in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, right.
Remember, this is the same Michigan team last year who was an eyelash away of winning the national championship. They were in the national championship game against Louisville. And I would say they look to be a better basketball team than they were last year.
They're just a different basketball team, and obviously they're without Mitch McGary. They're without
He only
Trey
played
Burke.
8 games this year.
Right. They're without Trey Burke and without Hardaway Jr. And I think it's incredible, honestly, to see this Michigan team in almost the same spot that they were last year without those 3 big cogs of their team.
But Glenn Robinson has grown up as a man now.
Yeah.
The other bigs that had to come in when McGarry went down. Remember, Mitch McGarry, everybody talked about Mitch McGarry was such a loss. Remember, you didn't even know he played for Michigan until the tournament.
Right.
He was a nothing till he got to the tournament.
Jordan Morgan actually had Jordan Morgan was the guy who took the charge. Obviously, it took over Mitch McGarry's spot, but it was actually Jordan Morgan's spot on
Mitch McGarry took.
The starting 5. Yeah, Mitch McGarry took it, and then it just so happened Mitch McGarry got hurt, and Jordan Morgan got back in and is now playing and is a big part of the team.
So Michigan will take on Kentucky, an 8 seed who has said all along they were underseeded. Do you think they were underseeded now, Austin?
No, because
the Kentucky team that played the first 10 minutes of that game last night was not underseeded.
No, I think when they give them these seedings, obviously they're basing it off the whole entire season and not just how they play in the SEC tournament or towards the end of the season. So if you base their play off the entire season, when you have losses to South Carolina and teams like that, I think that they're adequately seeded. but they're just hot and they're playing really good right now.
Well, I just want to point out that Kentucky was seeded 8 with losses to South Carolina and teams like that. North Carolina was seeded 6 with a loss to Belmont and a loss to UAB. I'm just saying. Just pointing that out.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We come back. Buddy Martin joins the show. Gets you set up for Florida, Dayton. Florida's playing in Dayton. Is that where they're holding the regional in Dayton? Oh, no, Florida's playing the University of Dayton.
It's going to seem like it's going to be a Dayton with all those Dayton fans.
Oh, yeah, you know it will be. And even if you're not a Dayton fan, you're an underdog fan probably, so Florida's going to be the team nobody wants to win in the arena.
Right.
I don't think that's going to matter. We'll talk with Buddy Martin next, right here on the Saturday Sports Page, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
The biggest air show in the South is back in Lakeland. Sun and Fun International Fly-In celebrates its 40th year, April 1st through 6th. This year promises to be bigger, faster, and louder than ever before. Experience the heart-thumping, awe-inspiring performance of the U.S. Navy Blue Angels and the Air Force's F-22 Raptor. See thousands of aircraft, both in the air and on display, and an open flight line of historic warbirds. Sun and Fun offers fun for the whole family, with daily air shows, a kids zone, and lots of great food. Make Saturday, April 5th a day the family will remember, with 2 shows for the price of 1. See the Blue Angels perform at 3 p.m. and stay for the night air show, which includes aerobatic flyers, pyrotechnics, and a dazzling fireworks display. Sun and Fun International Fly-In celebrating its 40th year, April 1st through 6th in Lakeland. It's bigger, it's faster, it's louder. It's Sun and Fun.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 a.m. and 96.3 FM, The Source.
Need a car? Need financing? Need somebody to cut through the red tape and send you rolling down the highway? Prestige Auto Sales is the place to go. Got great credit and just prefer a quality pre-owned car at a fair price from somebody you can trust? Prestige Auto Sales is the place to go. Want to avoid high pressure to feel appreciated and be able to choose from a wide selection of AutoCheck and Carfax certified vehicles? Prestige Auto Sales is the place to go. Prestige Auto Sales in Ocala and Bellevue. Prestige, it's all there in our name.
Whenever something big happens in Ocala and Marion County, Buddy Martin is there on the case.
John Gruden, ESPN Monday Night Football, today spoke to the group here at the Gateway Bank. I'm going to play a little game of just word association with you. 1, Ocala.
Ocala is just a great community. It's a great group of people.
John Gruden coaching again.
One of these days I'll be back.
So remember, always check out Buddy Martin on the Voice of Ocala on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Need a car? Need financing? Need somebody to cut through the red tape and send you rolling down the highway? Prestige Auto Sales is the place to go. Got great credit and just prefer a quality pre-owned car at a fair price from somebody you can trust? Prestige Auto Sales is the place to go. Want to avoid high pressure to feel appreciated and be able to choose from a wide selection of AutoCheck and Carfax certified vehicles? Prestige Auto Sales is the place to go. Prestige Auto Sales in Ocala and Bellevue. Prestige, it's all there in our name.
Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Page. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz. Austin Statman Tapman pushing all the right buttons, except for the internet button. What's up with that, Austin?
Yeah, we're flying in the dark a little bit.
We're not in the dark a little bit. We are in the dark. You know, used to they did radio without the internet. I have no idea how. But I'll tell you who does know how they did it without it. We don't have Buddy Martin?
Waiting on Buddy Martin.
Oh, we're waiting on Buddy Martin. Do not have Buddy Martin yet. I know how they used to do it. They used to do it with newspapers and stuff like that, and so
Got to be a lot of newspapers.
well,
Different
the
articles.
newspaper was the internet of old days, you know.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think you were just calling out Buddy for being a little up there in age.
No, I'm not calling Buddy out for that. He can be up there in age. Tennessee last night Michigan barely escapes Tennessee last night. in a game Buddy Martin thought would be a lot better than Tennessee team. Buddy called Tennessee, by the way, said they were going to surprise people. They sure surprised me. I didn't think they had it in them to be that good. And they seem to have come along pretty well. And
didn't they have to play a play-in game to get into the
they had
tournament?
to beat Iowa in overtime.
And I think that's what people miss, they didn't see that right away, is that they had to play another game to actually get into the tournament, and then they did very well.
Yeah, and it was a Tennessee team that I didn't think was very impressive all through the year. That Buddy said you got to start watching them now because they're going to be pretty good.
Speaking of Buddy,
And they ended up being pretty good, and I think they got hosed on a call last night, or they'd have beat Michigan. But now we still have Kentucky beats Louisville after making a fantastic, biggest comeback in school history in the tournament for Kentucky. And so now, Buddy, 3 SEC teams went into last night. 1 SEC team an eyelash away from there being 3 SEC teams in the Elite Eight. What'd you take away from last night's basketball?
I don't know what that means other than the fact that I think people overreacted all the way around about the SEC. And I think the fact is that the SEC is competitive at the high levels, and maybe the middle teams are not as good, and the LSUs and the Georgias and the Ole Misses and what. But in terms of the best basketball, those 3 teams can play pretty much with everybody in half.
Yeah, they certainly have. And last night, Kentucky, I sent a text to you that said, it looks like the Kentucky team that lost to South Carolina showed up, not the one that beat Wichita State. You said, yeah, wait and see. We'll just wait and see. That was very prophetic because after the first 10 minutes of that game, Kentucky took a punch in the face from Louisville, calmed down, and then became the Kentucky team that played Wichita State. This Kentucky team, are we watching these young guys grow up in front of our eyes during this tournament?
Absolutely, no question about it. And that's why I believe Kentucky had a chance, although I didn't want them to win because I have Louisville in the brackets. But in terms of the comments last night, it's basketball. We forget basketball is a game of runs. We always want to panic when our team gets behind by 8 or 10. And it was Michigan last night had a 15-point lead. And then really in the end, as you pointed out, questionable call. However, I do have a statement from our officiating guru this morning who had a view of that call. I have not seen it myself, the one on Stokes.
Right.
I've just heard about it. So if you want me to, I can dig that up. And Rutledge had to say about that.
Yeah,
But,
what did Don Rutledge, because I'm sure he had a comment.
Yeah, he said regarding the call, he said the Michigan defender establishes legal guarding position on Tennessee ball handler, and moves laterally to maintain that position. The Tennessee player moves forward and into the defender. Charge. This is a tough call. The replay call at 28.6 seconds on the out-of-bounds call was unbelievable. Extremely tough, even on replay. To reverse the call on the floor has to be conclusive evidence. So he thinks it was the right call.
Yeah, so does Austin, but you know how officials are. They stick together, buddy. It was a terrible call. It was a bad call, and I'll go down saying that Don Rutledge is just protecting his guys. I don't care.
And I know you spent a year all about the conspiracy of the zebras. I understand.
Oh, they do everything they can to be the reason the game is played instead of the players, without a doubt.
And they particularly make bad calls against Georgia Southern. I understand.
Oh, without a doubt.
and North Carolina.
And North Carolina.
Oh, especially
And
North Carolina.
Yeah, I understand. And you're right. They're all everybody in the world conspires against North Carolina and Georgia Southern.
Well, last night, Tom James, who, by the way, is eerily silent this morning. Haven't gotten any.
You know why? I went by his house. The whole house is hung in black crepe paper.
Well, there you go. He's in mourning. Louisville loses last night in what was a very good basketball game for 30 minutes. The first 10 minutes was terrible basketball by Kentucky, and the last 30 minutes was good basketball, unless you're talking about free throw shooting.
Horrible. Like 5 for 16 or something like that. And that will bite you in the butt, and that's what Florida has to worry about. They could lose to Dayton tonight.
Well,
and if they lose to Dayton, in my opinion, it will be because they don't make their foul shots.
Well, if they lose to Dayton tonight, this will be one of the big colossal upsets in the history of this game. Even though Dayton deserves to be in the Elite Eight, they've won their way in. It's Cinderella.
There you go, Tom. You're overreacting. These are good basketball teams. They didn't get to the Sweet 16 because they were some mediocre team. And losing to Dayton would not be as bad as losing to Georgia Southern, okay? Let's get it straight. And it would be painful. I love what Billy Donovan said today. I don't know if you heard what he said about the losing, but I posted on Facebook. This is why we love Donovan, because he says things like this regarding how painful it is to lose games like that. He talked about the fact that this one wouldn't hurt any more than the game in 2000 when he lost. He said, I'm still trying to lost in the Final Four in 2000. So people who think this is the worst one, no, they all hurt. Donovan points out the fact that you get disappointed when you get to a certain level. I think this one might hurt a little bit more because how far this team has come since November, and what a great coaching job Billy Donovan has done. In my opinion, the best coaching job I've ever seen him do, considering what he had back in the day when he was playing with his manager on the floor. So this team has come a long, long way with 4 seniors. They don't want to go back to it, but every ball game is going to be a struggle, just like it was for the final 6 minutes the other night before they finally kicked in against UCLA. This is a team that makes it. What do they say, Krabs? Is it 3 the hard way or something?
Right, yeah, 3 the hard way. So, buddy, you said that this wouldn't be a big upset if Florida lost to Georgia Southern. Will Muschamp's propaganda machine will definitely get out there and tell you that you're wrong if they lose to Dayton. He'll want everybody to think it's just as bad as losing to Georgia Southern. Now,
you were kind of upbeat yesterday. I think a little bit on the Roper stuff you were reading on the show.
I think
the part you played in it yesterday, you were eating bonbons and drinking Cokes most of the day. While Josh and I and Austin were working. But what part you played in that show yesterday, you talked about Roper like you kind of like what he said.
Roper talked about during spring practice, talking about the new offense coordinator at Florida, that yes, he knows it's a challenge as the guys have had the 3rd offense coordinator in 4 years, but he likes the tools he sees around him. He likes what he has to work with. He says the thing that he likes the most about what he has to work with is Jeff Driscoll, because Jeff Driscoll's the real deal, a great player, knows and understands football, and he's really high on how good that Jeff Driscoll is. And then Will Muschamp come out and gave the seal of approval, buddy. As you said, he said Morningweg and Greer are both having a great spring, but they're nowhere near Jeff Driscoll. So he gave him the stamp of, they're playing for backup. Will Muschamp said that in his comments yesterday without saying it. We know that's what he meant.
Yeah. But speaking of Captain Obvious, hello, well, of course they are. Everybody can see what Driscoll has as talent. His talent level is unquestioned. He was a poorly coached quarterback. That's all there is to it. Now, some of that's on Driscoll because he held the ball too long at times, but that's his coaching. In my opinion, in terms of skills, in terms of skill sets, physical ability, maybe a little not quite as intelligent as a quarterback as I'd like him, but he's not dumb. He's getting there, and he can get there. This guy is a terrific prospect. If Kurt Roper can rehabilitate him and he can get over that injury, this guy can lead them to 8-9 wins, next year probably, if the defense doesn't fall apart. But it's all about Driscoll, and he clearly, after that Roper story, he's their real hope. He is a great hope for this team next year. If they're going to win any kind of games, Muschamp's going to keep his job.
That's exactly how I think of it. He's got to tie it all to Driscoll, and Driscoll has to make good decisions, and Muschamp's job depends on Driscoll making good decisions.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, buddy, another Captain Obvious before we let you go. It was announced last night about 12:05 a.m. Former Alabama star quarterback A.J. McCarron gets a yes from Catherine Webb on a marriage proposal. That's Captain Obvious. Did you think A.J. McCarron was not going to ask her to marry him?
We're not talking about having to win the Heisman Trophy here. You just got to get a yes out of her. And I think she may be an Alabama girl, but she is still intelligent enough to realize a good thing and she sees it. And I like her. I like Catherine Webb. I think that's a picture of a girl you have in your mind. You talk about the quarterback and the cheerleader or whatever you want to call her.
She's the cheerleader.
A real cute couple. Again?
She's definitely the cheerleader you envision when you think about the quarterback, big
right.
man on campus and the cheerleader.
Right. She's the Barbie that goes with Ken. So
certainly is. Buddy Martin, thanks so much for joining us. Get ready for
Tom.
Florida. Tips off 6:07, I think is tip off. We know where Buddy will be.
6:07.
We know where Buddy will be. Buddy will be sitting in his lazy boy, sitting there with the clicker in his hand and probably a sweet iced tea or something beside him watching the Gator game.
Beat those Flyers.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much for joining us. Buddy Martin, voice of Ocala and Buddy Sports Page. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we had a guest stop by, David Moulton from 99.3 FM in Fort Myers, stopped by the show earlier this week. And he talked about just how good those games last night were going to be. We'll see how prophetic he was. And he talked about Masiello not getting the job at USF and unionization. It's a hard word to say.
Unionization. I'm getting better at it.
In college football. We'll hear David Moulton next. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Attention passengers for Flight 1370. The plane has been delayed at its departure point and will be at least 2 hours late. We apologize for any inconvenience.
Are you serious? It took us over an hour to get here, 2 hours going through security and getting our tickets, and now we have to wait another 2 hours.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, but we're inside this overcrowded airport all day because the plane is stuck in bad weather.
This is the last time we ever do this. When we get back, we're going to Ocala Aviation and getting our pilot's license.
Yeah, we've been talking about that long enough. It's about time we did it. Then we could just fly ourselves and never have to deal with this mess again.
Right. No long lines, no full body groping security, no baggage checks.
Not to mention never losing your luggage. Remind me again why we haven't done that?
Well, we're idiots.
Oh, right.
Attention all passengers for Flight 1370. It looks like the plane is going to be delayed a little bit longer. The airline has lost the pilot's luggage. Isn't it time you got your pilot's license? Call Ocala Aviation today. 352-861-7484. That's 352-861-7484. Hey, you've earned it. Call today.
Like it or not, springtime is just around the corner, and so is spring cleaning and those winter projects you've been putting off. But don't worry, Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for 1 day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now.
Men, do you know your testosterone level? Are you experiencing decreased energy levels or unusual sleeping problems? Have you noticed you have less strength or endurance, decreased sex drive, increased irritability or depression? If so, you may be experiencing problems with low testosterone. If you're interested in a free testosterone screening, please call Rinstar Medical Research at 352-629-5800. Again, that number is 352-629-5800.
Your heating and air conditioning unit sure will get a workout this season, and you need to make sure it's in tip-top condition. Let Air Ducts Heating and Air give you that peace of mind by knowing your unit will work at its optimum efficiency, saving you time and money. Air Ducts is a full HVAC residential and commercial company. Air Ducts is family-owned and operated, so we treat you the way we want to be treated. Air Ducts also offers discounts for builders and commercial applications, so give us a call today, 352-304-6766. That number again, 352-304-6766. Air Ducts Heating and Air Conditioning.
Gotta get that. Gotta get that. Gotta get that. Gotta get that.
Welcome back to Saturday Sports Page. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz, joined by Austin Chapman, Josh LaSalva in studio on a rainy Saturday morning, messing my golf all up. I was going to go play golf now. I may still go play golf, Golden Tee at one of the sports bars around here. I may do that.
Ale House.
You know, may go to Dick's Sporting Goods and play some golf in their little, they got one of those monitors in there where you can hit golf balls and stuff. May do that.
I hate those monitors, man. They never work.
I don't care about working. I'm just going to swing a golf club.
Any excuse to swing the club.
Exactly. Earlier this week, David Moulton of 99.3 down in Fort Myers He joined the show. He talked Masiello, Coach Masiello from Manhattan, not getting the job at USF because of a resume problem. He talked about how good the games last night were going to be, and we'll see how prophetic he was in those statements. Plus, we asked him about the unionization of college football. Here's what David Moulton had to say on all those subjects.
David, good to have you on the program.
Buddy, how the hell are you?
I'm good. I'm enjoying this basketball. I know that. That's been a great run. And so I know you have two. And how are your picks going, by the way?
Really, you had to bring that up. The conversation was going so well.
If I suffer, you suffer.
I do have the Gators winning it all, though.
Okay, we do. You're like us. Who do you have in the Final Four besides Florida?
Well, I had them playing Wichita State in the title game.
Okay.
So, that kind of...
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have Louisville in there or Arizona or?
I had Arizona, Wichita State, Michigan State, Florida. And I thought Florida, it was 14 years ago that Sparty beat the Gators for the national title. I figure in the Final Four, it's time for Florida to get their payback.
There you go. And, yesterday, your colleague, your former colleague and now our colleague and friend who does this show with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you might remember him. And it had made a comment that you knew you were one of those talk show hosts with a photographic memory. Tom James said you can remember the second quarter stats of the Atlanta Falcons San Diego Chargers game in 1994.
He's at a second preseason game in '94.
So that's a curse to us, like the guys like you.
That's only because he can't remember that. That's why he thinks so highly of my memory. Is a little lacking. But loving the tournament so far, that is for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about you just for a minute. We talked about your show and what you do. We don't get a chance to hear it much here anymore because we're on the air at the same time, but enjoy your show a lot. You and your colleague, Mr. Miller, have been together for a bit now. And talk about some of the things that you discuss on your show. I've got your Facebook page here. I can pretty well guess what some of it was. Obviously, it's March Madness. But what are the kinds of things that the two of you discuss on Miller and Moulton at 99.3?
Well, like today, buddy, I think it's a fascinating discussion, the whole Steve Masiello USF situation. All right, I know on paper, sounds great. Every coach has to have a college degree. I get it. Okay, it would seem to be, an entry-level requirement. But the other part of the equation is it really necessary? He's not teaching a class. He's coaching basketball. Does he really have to have one? What if he agreed to finish his degree at USF and get his degree there? Would he then be hireable? Yeah, I think it's a fascinating discussion. Now, clearly, he lied on his resume.
Yeah, and that's the issue, don't you think? It's the lying part.
And he didn't come clean in the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he had said, hey, this is a really big job, I got to be honest with you, I didn't graduate from Kentucky. I hope it's not a deal breaker. If it is, I understand. But, is there a way we could work something out? Can I get my degree at USF?
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay, at least as long until I get it. And by the way, it doesn't sound like he's 3 or 6 credits short either. I mean, USF apparently looked into it, and he's apparently short.
Yeah.
So, it sounds to me like if he stays in Manhattan, he's going to have to take classes, and he's going to be there a while.
Well, not only that, the question is, do they hire him back after finding out he lied on his resume?
Yeah, well, and, which means that he signed a contract under fraudulent circumstances. But, here's the other way to look at it, buddy. Once again, this is real world. If you're Manhattan, this is your marquee sport. This guy just took you to the tournament for the first time in 10 years. And you are going to lose him. And if by chance it didn't work at USF, you're probably going to lose him to someone else next year. Now, you could really keep him for a while because he can't go anywhere else without a degree. So, and he can't ask for a raise because he's still lucky to have the job if you decide to keep him. I mean, if you're Manhattan, which is a small city school, by the way, its role in the New York City college education system is kind of sort of this.
hey, if you're Manhattan, do you actually turn this and work it to your advantage where you say to Steve, hey, listen, you can, stay here as long as you need to get your degree. We all know you're not leaving until you get it because you can't go anywhere. And as long as you keep working towards your degree, we'll keep you hired. But the minute you stop, just like the kids, stop going to class, you're done.
Apparently, Rick Pitino didn't know it either. He said he was shocked by it. He said, I had no idea. I left the previous year and he was on track to graduate. Now, this can happen. I told a story earlier about the fact that I quit my last semester in the middle of my last semester with 11 hours to go, but my wife was pregnant. I was working full time, and I just couldn't get the job done. I never did go back and get it. So technically, I'm in that position, but I never filled out a resume saying I graduated. So you got to be careful of that.
And,
so that's the big issue.
Buddy. I got my big break the summer before my senior year of college.
Yeah.
And I was faced with, do I turn down my big break job, with weekend sports in a top 50 market at age 20, or do I continue to go to school full time? And they made no bones about it. I couldn't, do one or the other, or I couldn't do both. And so I stopped going to school, basically, and I'm a semester short.
The irony,
right, I never lied on a resume and said I had a BA.
The irony of that is that, is that you've been very successful, and if I ask you, did it impact your radio career, you're going to tell me, no, it didn't impact your career.
Well, right, and this is, I think, how real are we going to get in this discussion? I mean, does the degree really matter as to whether or not he can beat Iona in the conference final and go to the NCAA tournament? Of course it doesn't. Now, if he was teaching a class at the school and they require all the other teachers to, have degrees, hey, listen, then I'm totally on board. But I really think there's some gray area here, at least at Manhattan there is. I think they can keep him and make him go back to school and earn his degree and have the best of both worlds. I really do. USF, I totally get it. Never mind the fact that the AD got hired 8 days earlier. I mean, he's got to run from this situation. I get it.
We're speaking with David Moulton. David, this is Tom Schmitz here. There's two marquee games that I think really just jump off the page. Kentucky, Louisville, and Virginia, Michigan State. If you only had a chance, you could only pick one to watch. Which one of those two games is a must-see?
Kentucky, Louisville, because you also get the sideline theatrics between the two, and it used to be, teacher and protege, and then, they also have history in the tournament together. This will be the fourth time they met. The irony is Kentucky's always won whenever Pitino's gone up against Calipari in the tournament. Twice Pitino was coaching Kentucky and Calipari was coaching UMass. And then 2 years ago in the Final Four, Kentucky beat Louisville with Pitino at Louisville. So, there's been technical fouls in this game that have, between the coaches. I mean, that would be the one that I would watch. I don't think Virginia, Michigan State is going to have nearly the drama, nor quite frankly the hatred. I mean, Kentucky, Louisville is pure hatred. And there's not a lot of college basketball rivalries that have hatred, and that one is genuine with the fans and the players. And the coaches, I don't think, are on each other's Christmas card list anymore either.
David Moulton, 99.3 in Fort Myers, Naples, Southwest Florida. He's the co-host of Miller and Moulton. He's also I'm not going to say spotter, because he really is more than that, to Gary Danielson and the SEC, where he hangs out in the SEC press boxes. Not a bad gig to have. Well, how's Gary doing these days? What's he up to?
Well, he's living in Southwest Florida. He shot 75 the other day. I mean, he doesn't really have to go back to work till late August. That's a good life.
There you go.
That's the life you want.
We talk about the Florida Gators a lot more up here than you do down there, although you see them a lot. And you're not blinded by the bright orange and blue that some of us are. On the other hand, you can look at the Billy Donovan situation two ways. One, of a guy who's been doing it really well for a long time, and a guy who probably was a lot better coach than what everybody thought, who's now proving himself. And now when you mention his name in the pecking order, if there's such a thing, in coaches, what slot does Billy Donovan fit in?
Well, it's a lot higher than I think he'd be ranked, because he doesn't draw a lot of attention onto himself. For a guy with his resume, you would think, I don't know if he's just turning down all the interview requests, or for whatever reason, people aren't calling them and asking. But, you know, you see Krzyzewski and you see Boeheim and you even see Tom Izzo a lot. I don't know if Billy Donovan takes a backseat to anybody else but those three in terms of resume. And I know some would argue, wait a minute, he's got two and Izzo and Boeheim only have one. But I think people know what I was getting at in terms of, you know, longevity and trips to the Final Four, et cetera. I mean, you know, you could argue active coaches right now. Active, would he not, along with Roy Williams, I mean, those are probably the top five with, you know, okay, Patino, Calipari, Self, so we got 8. I mean, you know, that would be an interesting little, you know, you want a little Facebook Elite 8. You pit coaches against one another. And, you know, where would you see Billy Donovan amongst that Elite 8? I really think I would see them in the top 4.
Yeah, I would put him ahead of. Kansas, North Carolina. I mean, the Roy Williams been doing it for a long time, but you know how many championships has he won? By the way, Bill Self.
He does have the 2. Okay,
yeah.
He didn't get them at Kansas. He has gotten 2 at Carolina, and I believe between the 2 schools, he's got at least 5, maybe 6 trips to the Final Four. I'd put him ahead of Bill Self. You know, I mean, we're getting really nitpicky here. If we're just going by championships, he vaults Boeheim and Izzo as well. I mean, you know, but anyway, we're talking college basketball royalty. And he is the youngest of the group.
Correct.
Okay, although Bill's not very old. But, you know, and he, I mean, you know, when the Boeheim, Krzyzewski, Izzo guard retires and Patino, you know, is Billy Donovan, if he decides he wants to coach for as long as he's healthy, is he going to end up the all-time winningest college basketball coach?
Great question. And the thing about him is he's the dean. He's also the youngest. He's the dean of the SEC, longest tenure. So interesting guy. I can give you an insight from this standpoint of what the interview situation goes like. We only have Billy on once a year here, but he comes down here to our city twice a year, and one of them is an evening, a dinner for the Tip-Off Club that was founded by his good friend, the late Augie Griner. He does it every year and completely lets his hair down. Completely. He and his staff, and you hear them say things and do things. It's a different side of Billy Donovan. I know guys in the room have seen this, and this is a side of Billy Donovan I wish people could see, but he didn't let you in that close, very many people. He just happens to have a relationship. And I would say this on the air. For my city, in my town, no other 3 coaches in football or any other sports have done nearly as much for my city as Billy Donovan. So I'm very prejudiced about that. And I think he's first place.
A quick story. Until the Sweet 16, the only other time that FGCU and Florida had played, I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this because I do FGCU games, was FGCU had just become a D1 school about a half dozen years ago. And, you know, we went to Gainesville and actually played a pretty competitive first half, down about 8. And then, of course, you know, Florida rolled. And, you know, won by 30-something. And in the final 30 seconds of the game, when Billy was calling, hey, guys, no more shots, dribble out the clock, one of the guys who doesn't normally get into the game, you know, put up a shot and hit a 3. And Billy felt awful about it. And he's apologizing to then head coach Dave Balsa at the end of the game. And Dave was like, hey, Billy, I understand. It's no big deal. Billy was so bothered by it the next day at about 9:30 at night, he called Dave at home. And I thought that shows a lot about the guy.
Speaking with Dave Moulton. Dave, Tom Schmitz, one more question from me. Away from basketball, it was announced at about 3:30 this afternoon that the National Labor Relations Board in Chicago has said that the Northwestern players do qualify as employees and can form a union. If that stands, because it's going to be appealed, Northwestern's appealing it to the National Labor Relations Board, not the regional. If that stands, what does that do to college football or college sports in general?
Well, you know, if you think about it, the NCAA, I mean, is almost like, you know, under attack the way, you know, Germany was in the mid-'40s here. I mean, it's a 3-pronged attack now. You know, they've got to worry about the Ed O'Bannon suit on one flank, which is going after them from a business standpoint and selling of jerseys and video games and, you know, merchandising and what have you. And that's making its way through the courts and is probably going to end up before a judge in about a year. Then you've got Jeffrey Kessler, the attorney in New Jersey, who has been instrumental in bringing free agency into some professional sports leagues. and he's decided he's going to take on the NCAA, wants no money, literally just wants to, quote, destroy the NCAA, unquote. And now you've got this little nuisance, Northwestern, they're trying to unionize, they're going to be able to win. It's going to be a long fight. I almost equate it to, it's kind of like you've got the Western European front, Kessler's like Russia to the east, and Northwestern's lawsuit is, North Africa. That's the attack that the NCAA is under right now. And you try to joke about it, but quite frankly, I don't see how the NCAA can go 3-0 here. And if they don't go 3-0, then major college athletics, as we know it, is going to change to some degree. It's just a matter of how much. Personally, and goodness knows I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to me as if what Jeffrey Kessler's trying to do, and even ultimately what the Northwestern players are trying to do, I'm almost wondering if the Supreme Court shouldn't just take it now and say, let's just decide this once and for all. Because it's going to eventually end up to us. The loser's going to keep appealing. It's going to get to us anyway. Why don't we just deal with this?
Have you seen Bob Wine's super special in this week's newspaper ad? Here it is. Number one size canna lilies, regularly $5.99 each. Yours for only $1.99. Yes, $1.99 for quality canna lilies at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala. Here's another super buy. Special purchase of geraniums, the 5-inch size, just 99 cents each. BOGO, you got it. All lawn fertilizers are buy one, get one at Bob Wine's this week. Trees large from 6 feet at $29.99 to super gigantic jumbos 18 feet and larger, just $4.99. Delivered, planted, and guaranteed. That's just a tiny sample of this week at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5 for the best bargains of the spring. Bob Wine's since 1952 and still growing with Ocala.
Here in Florida, when you're looking to go to the beach, you've got hundreds of options. Theme parks, no shortage of options there either. But when it comes to home insurance, most companies have only one option. Allstate is different. Here in Florida, Allstate agents offer home insurance options from several companies, so they can help you get the coverage that's right for you. And they'll help you save on quality car insurance, too. For starters, safe drivers save 45% with Allstate. So before you settle for just one option, talk to someone with many home and car insurance options. Your local Allstate agent. Are you in good hands?
For more information, call the McDonald Agency at 352-622-2333 or visit us online at themcdonaldagency.com.
Allstate has no financial responsibility to you for any home insurance policy you purchase and would not be responsible for any claims. Allstate does not make any representations or accept liability related to operations of home insurance companies, including but not limited to their financial conditions. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Savings vary.
Austin, I'm sitting here at the computer looking at our Facebook page, and boy, we really need to tell more listeners about our Facebook page.
No, Tom. See, you got it all wrong. Twitter is the new age.
What's a tweeter?
No, a Twitter, Tom. The Voice of Ocala has a Twitter.
We do? Well, how do we tell our listeners about that?
All they have to do is get the Twitter app or go to twitter.com, type in Voice of Ocala in the search box, and click follow.
All right, well, what's the tweeter do?
The Voice of Ocala's Twitter page updates all of its followers on the latest news, guests, giveaways, and contests.
Oh, okay. But couldn't listeners just tune in weekdays from 3 to 6 to 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, or even go to online at WOCA.com? Wouldn't that be easier?
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Back on the Saturday Sports page, real quick, Austin, before we get out of here, tonight's lineup, Florida tips off at 6:07 against Dayton. What do we got after that? On TBS.
Then we have the Arizona-Wisconsin game starting about 8:49 on TBS. Number one Arizona takes on number two Wisconsin.
Nothing on CBS today?
Nothing on CBS. That's tomorrow. All TBS tonight.
Wow. So I'm going to have to go find TBS somewhere because I don't have TBS.
Yes. It's going to be a couple interesting games. Obviously, Florida Dayton has a really long bench that rely on 10 or 11 players. And then Arizona and Wisconsin are really seem like they play both the same way. They both have strong defenses, both have a big 7-footer down low. So it's going to be an interesting game.
I can't wait for the game. It's going to be a good basketball game, Florida and Dayton. Dayton deserves to be there, but I think Florida will prevail in that game. In lieu of an "are you kidding me" that moment this weekend, I want to actually just say that I'm saddened at the passing of one of my dearest friends, Alan Burt, and everything I do sports-wise, everything I've done, all the motivation I've ever done was always geared by him. When we were in high school, he told me, "You're pretty good at this sports thing. You should look into doing this as a living." Well, I'm doing it as a living now, pal. I'll see you on the other side. I know that you're sorely missed, and me and my friends are going to get together in your memory this Friday coming up. So rest in peace, Alan Burt. You'll be sorely, sorely missed. For Austin's Tapman, our guest, Buddy Martin, and for Josh LaSalva, I'm Tom Schmidt saying, have a good weekend, everybody.